Let's head back outside. CBS 2's Vince Girasoli has been driving around the city monitoring street conditions for us in Mobile 2. Vince.
We're on Paulina. It's what you'd call a side street in the Bucktown Wicker Park area, and we've come here because traffic was moving rather slowly on Ashland, but we want to show you outside what the side streets look like right now. And once again, I heard Kate say a little bit earlier, it's really the wind and the visibility that's playing a factor in when you go outside, how your commute is going. Have to tell you, within the past hour, it's gotten a lot more difficult out here. What have we noticed? We have noticed cars' wheels were spinning more often. We noticed people were zigzagging and perhaps doing a little dovetailing as they tried to hit their gas and proceed once they were stopped at a traffic light. Now you can see as we come up to North Avenue now, and we're heading north on Paulina, that the traffic, I would say, is moving no more than 3 miles an hour. And what I want to show you is what the street looks like just to the right of our car. My buddy Lou Kleinberg is going to take a look at the roadway there. So that's the road surface you're finding on the side street. But when you get to a main street like North Avenue, if we can just show a little bit further over here, you can see that it is basically in kind of sort of the same situation. It's taking a while for the trucks to get out. There are an awful lot of pedestrians out there, too. And as these gusts come by, I have to tell you, Rob and Kate, sometimes they don't want to wait for a corner to cross the street. They might cross in the middle of the street trying to get to their location faster than or as fast as possible. And if you're a driver who's out there, you might not be prepared to have someone dart in front of you, especially with these visibilities that are not at a very safe range. So you've got to be careful as you are out here on the streets. Just making a left-hand turn like I'm making now requires your eyes to be in back of your head and all over. And look just ahead. We see here is a taxi spinning out, and this is a condition on the roadway, Rob and Kate, that we're seeing develop more and more, especially over the past half hour. Once again, as we've been saying all night long, if you don't have to go out, you shouldn't go out. But if you go out, you really need to be prepared for these conditions. You can see that taxi going back and forth. Be prepared. Drive slower. Make sure that your windshields are clear. We saw some cars that didn't bother to clear their side windshields, and that's also a hazard there. So keep those ideas in mind if you have to head out on the road. Of course, the best thing is to stay home and get updates from Rob and Kate and Steve and Mary Kay and everyone back at the studio.
And you too, Vince. You be careful out there.
It's interesting. Vince Girasoli has made it to Lakeshore Drive now. Vince, what does it look like now?
Well, we are just south of North Avenue Beach here on Lakeshore Drive, and there's no shortage of stranded cars here. I want to show you what the fire department has been doing. When they check out a car, they flip up the wipers to make sure that emergency vehicles know that this car has been checked out and there's no one inside. I'm going to take a walk down here, and you can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stranded cars just here in the immediate area. And in the time that we have been here, which has been about 15 minutes, about 6 other cars were towed away by tow trucks, and we're seeing that a command center is just a little bit south of us. You can see the flashing lights, and the tow trucks have just gotten to this area. I'm going to show you the path here, for example. So right now, I would say there's about, I'd say maybe about 10 inches of snow here from the drifting, and then here's where the plows came by just a few moments ago. I'm going to walk around just so that you know we're on the northbound lane, so that's the lake over there. And if you can see the flashing lights up ahead, there is a CTA bus. That's used as a warming bus in case anyone in the area has been stuck in their car before the bus can take them to a hospital. And we understand that it's St. Joe's Hospital. You'll go inside the warming bus, and then you will be taken to the hospital up ahead. You cannot get on to Lakeshore Drive at all. We tried to get on in the North Avenue Beach area, and there were about 7 or 8 police cars blocking people. Now, the lights have been left flashing on this car, but once again, as you see, the windshield wipers, the fire department came through, flipped up the windshield wipers, and that's how you know that that car does not have anyone inside it. And if we could just swing around here, Lou, swing around this way, you can see there's a tow truck up ahead, and it's attempting to tow this car out of the way just in this small section of Lakeshore Drive. I would say we probably counted as many as 20 cars at one point, and this is one of the areas where they have been able to get to a little bit more easily at this point just on the other side of the bridge that goes over North Avenue. There are additional cars. This is a situation that's being repeated up and down Lakeshore Drive. Now, the winds are really whipping. To get to this particular location, we had to walk because the road was closed about 6 blocks from here. So we had to walk here, and the closer you got to the lake, the more these winds were whipping around. And the snow seems to be going horizontally just as it goes by. And we have crews here not only from the fire department, but also from the police department. And I don't know if we can make it up to the warming bus, but I'm going to hurry up and see if I can make it. The wind is howling, guys. But I can tell you, this does not feel like safe conditions. I heard you speaking to Jim just a few moments ago. We met him just as he got off of Lakeshore Drive, and he said he had some other folks in his car that he tried to help. Now, here's the warming bus. We're approaching it here. I took a peek in earlier. I don't think anyone was there trying to take refuge, but maybe we can get on board. We just have a few more steps to go. It looks like there's a driver on board, and we'll see what conditions are like outside. You can see how people can take refuge. If you could please open up. Hi, we're here from Channel 2. We just wanted to show everyone the bus. Now, you're here to help people stay warm, correct?
No, actually, I'm one of the buses that were stranded.
Oh, you're one of the buses that was stranded. Well, this is what you learn in life. Now, what was that situation like?
Something unusual, something that I haven't experienced before.
So you were driving. How long have you been stuck here?
Actually, since 5:40 yesterday afternoon.
Since 5:40 yesterday afternoon. The bus was full of people?
Not quite full of people. I had about 12 people on the bus.
You had about 12 people on board.
Yeah.
And what was it that made you know you couldn't go anymore?
Basically, as we started trying to get off, because it seemed as though the lane over there was just packed, it wasn't moving. We were trying to go on the off ramp, and as I got here, basically that was it. No traction, no nothing.
And so what were you able to tell the passengers on the bus?
Basically, I was able to let them know that we weren't able to move at this moment. I was trying to get help to see if I could get somebody to come and escort them off the bus to make sure they were still able to get off. And that was basically it. Actually, I had about 5 passengers that stayed with me for quite a while.
Okay, well, at least you're warm and you're safe, and they were able to get off safely. So we're going to send it back to you in the studio. He's still waiting for the final all clear so that he can get the CTA bus by. We're going to stay on Lakeshore Drive, Susan and Steve, see what else we can bring you in the updates as the blizzard of 2011, we continue to learn more about it.
Boy, Vince, great job. We thought you were making a run up there to get warm, but boy, that's at 5:40. That man has been out there a dozen hours.
Unbelievable.
CBS 2's Vince Gerasoli hoofed it out to Lakeshore Drive, where he has some more amazing stories to tell. Vince, how are you, sir?
Well, we were, in our last hit, we were speaking to a bus driver who'd been stranded for about 11 hours. The OEMC officers came by just a little bit after that, and they escorted him across Lakeshore Drive. They were headed in the opposite direction, so he's now safe. He's been able to leave his bus. Take a look just off in the distance, and you can see a fair number of emergency vehicles are on the scene, and what they're trying to do is get the cars off of Lakeshore Drive. Plows have been coming through, but only clearing small areas. I want to show you some of the mounds of snow that they've had to clear off of Lakeshore Drive. Now, I'm all of 5 feet 5 inches tall, and I would say that this mound of snow that they've had to clear off is probably about 7 feet to 7.5 feet. Earlier, we had a chance to see some of the cars that were in the area that was plowed, but now we're going to make our way through these drifts here that are going up to my knee. And you can see some of the cars that were stranded on the side. And remember, authorities were telling you if you were able to stay in your car, you had enough gas, you should stay in your car and not abandon it. But I don't know how it might feel if you were so close to just being able to walk to a store or somewhere that was warm. I don't know what decision I would make at that point. But anyways, here are some of the cars that are stranded. What the fire department has been doing is they come by after they were able to check and clear the car. They put the windshield wipers up like this so people know that there's no one inside the car and that it's safe. Really some crazy conditions here. Now this is the bridge that goes over North Avenue. Look at this incredible snowdrift here. It's up to my hips. And I'm going to make my way over to this bus here. The motor is running, but we understand from Elliot, who we spoke with in our last report that he was the last CTA driver who was on Lakeshore Drive. Everyone else had been rescued. I can't even move here, guys. That's how the snow has drifted.
Wow.
Hey, man, take it easy there.
Again, you can see what happened that led to these conditions, and that's the buses and the cars were going sideways, and they couldn't quite get through the right lanes. And that's what led to some of the backups that we saw on Lakeshore Drive. So this is typical what they're doing now, I guess, to make sure that the bus doesn't freeze up, is they're keeping the motor running. Doesn't look like anyone's on board, but look, it's one of those accordion buses, and it's sort of zigzagging right here, right in the middle. It must have been hard to control. So these are some of the conditions that people had to leave. People stuck in their car. I mean, just imagine if you were in your car for 5 hours, 7 hours. Those are some of the stories that we're hearing this morning. Thank goodness they were able to get out at some point. We'll continue to survey the situation on Lakeshore Drive, Steve and Susan, and bring you updates. And forgive me if I'm a little out of breath, but
buddy, please.
Boy, it's cold out here.
Take a
Man,
breath.
you're doing a great job. I think the bosses upstairs called. Says there's a little something extra in your paycheck.
We've been reporting all this morning. Lakeshore Drive is really going to be the story of this storm while it's been going on, and certainly the aftermath, all the folks getting stranded. Let's go back to CBS 2's Vince Gerasoli, who has been roaming along the drive all morning long and brought us, I thought, Vince, some of the best pictures we've seen all morning.
Good stuff.
Oh, well, thank you very much, but I have to tell you, boy, in the past half hour, the snow has started to fall harder, just like our meteorologist said it would. Being out here, everything they said was going to happen seems to be happening, and that's a comfort when you have to know you have to rely on some sort of forecast. So kudos to Mary Kay and Megan there this morning, keeping us informed. Here on Lakeshore Drive, we're looking at whiteout conditions right now. I mean, I really cannot see probably no more than a quarter of a mile, but you can see right now we've got snow plows making their way southbound here along Lakeshore Drive. There is still a significant amount of snow to clear from this area. And this particular area where I'm standing right now, which is at the corner of Lakeshore Drive and Burton Place, this was actually used as a staging area for all of those cars that were stuck on Lakeshore Drive. I'm going to show you some video now, and we'll show you what was happening about an hour and a half ago. So many cars stranded on Lakeshore Drive, and to get to them, they had to use two different types of tow trucks. They used the standard tow truck to pull those cars to the main staging area, and then there they would be loaded on flatbeds that could take 2 or 3 cars at a time out of this area. And keep in mind that the tow trucks had to be in a line that at times was 10 to 12 tow trucks deep just to get onto the drive and to get access to those cars that had been stranded here. We spoke with one of the tow truck operators, and he told us what a busy night it was.
It's cold and it's brutal. Got to get out every half hour to, clean our wipers because of the ice that sticks to them, and just try to hurry up and get as much done as we can.
How many cars would you say you see out here?
When I arrived on scene, probably maybe about close to 70, 80 cars.
Here's a look now at the scene he was describing. I said earlier it looked like, Mr. Freeze from Batman just all of a sudden took a breath and froze those cars in place. I lost count. The cars you're looking at now were stuck on the overpass over the North Avenue Bridge, and some of those snow drifts that were there where the cars had to be abandoned were as high as the car. They swallowed some of the cars. We also saw some of the buses. Those are the accordion buses that some folks like to call them, that really were zigzagging, and they weren't able to navigate the roadway there. I wanted to let you know a little bit now what it was like trying to get through that area. Here's what myself and photographer Luke Kleinberg had to go through just to get some of those pictures. Hours after they were first abandoned, the vehicles remain here on Lakeshore Drive, car after car after car, and they stand beside snowdrifts that, as you can see here, go well past my knee. Here's an illustration of just what caused the problems. This is one of those CTA accordion buses that just couldn't stay in a straight line on Lakeshore Drive. You can see actually the back of the bus is jutting out into another lane of traffic. And hours later, you can see a backup of tow trucks
as they still work to clear away the cars from the drive. You know, when you're a reporter, so often you're talking about difficult situations that threaten people's lives, and sometimes you always take heart at the stories of humanity that come out in those instances. When you know that we really truly live in a wonderful city like Chicago, big shoulders, people relying on each other. Sue Hammond was one of those people. She lives right here in the area. You saw all of the stranded motorists last night.
It was awful.
And it made an impression. You did something.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, after they'd been stuck for 4 hours or so and they didn't appear to be moving, my daughter said, "Mom, we need to take food out there." So we gathered everything we had. We made turkey sandwiches, we made cookies for them, chocolate chip cookies, and we actually made cupcakes. And we just crawled over the southbound lane because there wasn't any traffic, crawled over all this stuff to get out there, and we went from car to car. And it was amazing because there was so much snow on the cars. We had to wipe the snow off and knock, and of course these people, we must
They
have
were startled when they saw.
Oh, they were a little startled, but they were, you know, everybody was in a good mood. Nobody was in a crappy mood out there.
Now, I want to give you an idea what Sue had to go through just to do that. She had to not only navigate the first road hurdle, but in the middle of this storm, and I'm imagining it was...
There were huge drifts of snow. I mean, I could barely get over stuff.
And you were carrying the cupcakes and the turkey sandwiches.
We had everything in bags and stuff, and then we just, it was a really surreal feeling, walking between all the cars, giving them food, but...
I got the same feeling when I was walking through it too, but they were empty. It just felt like I said earlier, like an episode of the Twilight Zone or something.
It was very Twilight. It was very Twilight.
And the idea you said actually came from your 15-year-old daughter.
From my 15-year-old daughter, so I was really proud of her.
Well, you know what? A lot of people listening are probably proud of her. What's her name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie, what a great idea. And Sue, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And Champ looks nice and warm here. This is the look of people who are now facing the aftermath of the storm. A lot of folks are getting out, walking their dogs. I don't know if there are people shuttling. Thank you so much, Sue, and kudos again to your daughter there. But so now people are cleaning up and they're trying to get on with things, but Lakeshore Drive remains closed. A lot of those cars are still there, and it'll be a while before we actually know when the drive will be opened up again.